Hi guys. All right. Okay, first card out is you can waste your life drawing lines or you can live your life crossing them. So some of you guys just need to step out of your comfort zone. A lot of people are like, oh, don't do that and don't do this and that doesn't work and blah, 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 blah. And honestly, guys, that didn't work that time. Maybe it didn't work that moment. That doesn't mean that you should stop living life. Over one experience, and I can tell you right now that if I would have listened to people tell me what fuck it was or wasn't, I would have never done anything. I was born into a family that still has yet to do anything, and I'm the only one who honestly got out of town. A lot of people draw lines around life, and then they just don't really live one. And it sucks for you guys. I see a lot of people go all the way to like 70, 80, 90 years old, and they never end up doing shit with their life. They never get where they want to be. Oh my baby. You're just mama's baby, huh? You're so cute. I love you. Next card is good things come to those who work for them. Yeah, people, you gotta watch out for people that want to talk about the stuff that's going on in their lives, but you notice that they're not doing anything different to make it better. Oh, I didn't know that was on. Wow. Look at me. Well, now I can walk around and you can hear me. They actually don't do the work to make it better. And that's the issue, is that so many people want to sit there and complain about shit. And it's actually a sin to continuously complain about things, because you're putting negative energy out into the universe. And some people might say, oh, well, okay, cool. But you're supposed to actually learn what to do with that experience. And you haven't done what you do need to do yet. Therefore, it's causing you to continue to be feeling like you're experiencing a blockage. For some of you guys, you don't understand that the brain has 4 lobes. When the brain goes through an event, it obviously it takes it in. It sees the experience. So that's the first thing. Next, it jumps over to the second lobe, and it kind of it's deciding what to do. That's where you would normally process things. So the first lobe is the experience, second process, third would be accept it, and fourth is going to be move forward and let it go and understand that it happened. So when you go through trauma, your brain skips the second lobe. If you're somebody who didn't learn proper communication and your family fought a lot and you heard a lot of screaming in family, maybe you were fearful of ever opening up. Long story short, you were never actually taught proper communication, and your brain goes from lobe number 1, where it takes and sees an experience, and it jumps all the way to lobe number 3, and it doesn't go to number 2, where you would process and accept and all that. So looking into the brain and how the manufacturer, it's manufactured. You're manufacturing thing of God. And it really is all made up of different things, different cells, different components. And every brain on this earth is different. And it obviously is going to create people to have different ideas and different interests. And that's what life's all about. A lot of people, they think that things should be this way or that way, because as you guys have seen, I'm sure, every generation things just change so much. And if you look, you guys got to study. You need to study what you're seeing instead of complain about it. In the very old days, we were created for mating purposes and production purposes. This carried on until the days of the slaves and the days when basically men pretty much owned women and they could own pretty much whoever if they had enough money. But in the old days, they obviously did a lot of agricultural work, and they actually, the women absolutely had to honor the man. They had to do what the man fucking said pretty much all the time. And the man, it was his responsibility to like uphold the family name, and the wife pretty much was at home raising the kids and taking care of the farm. And anytime they ran a field or a farm and they were down workers, the woman's job was to actually have another child to complete the rest of the crew that was needed. So again, that carries on to production and, you know, making babies and all that shit. But really in the old days, it was about like production in general, production of the human life and production of work ethic, service work. As time went on, you see them find little diamonds. They find pearls, you know, more and more gold is being discovered as time goes on. You see during the horseman days that they are building houses and taking over lands and stuff. So that's where you see a lot of that control come in, and hate and anger, separation and division. It's where you see the slavery occur and people stabbing flags basically into the earth and deciding that this is this place and that is that place, and people just owning things, whether it was a woman or a piece of land, and people they really didn't have any rights. As far as everybody knew, pretty much the whole time, women belonged to man, supposedly. They were there to make babies, but they really didn't have much worth other than that. They were there to take care of the family. As we enter the Great Gatsby era, you can see where women are glamorous. They start to wear more and more fancy clothing, and then that era becomes different. That era, women are no longer, they are owned, yes, but they're more a part of man's life. And man isn't so worried and anal about what a lot of other people think. In this era, you have people starting to kind of relax a little bit and just decide if they really care that much about being rich and famous, and just, or they're going to be more like Jesse James. You know, you got this, that's where you start to see people kind of like stand up against discrimination of their kind. And then, you know, they're just having those duels with the horses and, you know, things like that. You got Jesse James that came out, and a few of them in the older days that really just started some riots and shit. We have obviously Marilyn Monroe, we have Elvis, we have some really like big moments in history that changed the game. Dr. Dre, all them, you know, Jonas Jett, like where the rock and roll, there's like really, it just is amazing, the little time frames. But so in the Great Gatsby era, women are now men's accessories, meaning, yes, they do run the home, they obviously care for the children, but this is an era where music and entertainment is now being, it's being discovered, and it's a time to relax, like I said, and have some fun and party and enjoy yourself. And so it's a big difference. There are TVs, there's cars, you know what I mean? Basically, there's transportation, there's entertainment, there are inventions occurring, and people are starting to actually gain popularity, and their name is spreading now worldwide for the first time. And they're becoming more and more interested in having a larger audience, you know, an easier way to connect with people. And so this is where technology and everything begins to really grow and things change for the different and for the better. So in the Great Gatsby era, I just love this era. I think it's very amazing how the Greeks and just like the people from the Greek gods are one of the people that really like found jewels and fruit and things of natural beauty to be of so. And it amazes me that there were so many phenomenal jewels and diamonds and everything in the old days, and the necklaces of the Egyptians. I mean, everyone in the old days was just wearing glamorous jewelry. It was pure and real. And as we go back in history, things become better and stronger material-wise, foundation-wise. But as we go forward in time, things become more convenient and widespread. There's a lot more options. There's a lot more choices. So there's pros in every con. There's a lot of advancement in our generation, being that we do have the opportunity to educate ourselves online, in libraries, and in schools, and of course through other people in 3D. So no matter in which way you choose to educate yourself, at the end of the day, knowledge is power. When we look at these time frames and we realize that it wasn't not long ago when even laws became established, it wasn't until 1983 that the law was passed that minors and adults could not have intimate relationships with each other. You can imagine how during that time things became very, very, very different again. It goes from like pilgrims, horses, building their house like Little House on the Prairie, into the Great Gatsby, which is glamour, jewels, being your man's accessory, which means you're wearing a gown. Being a man's accessory means that you're literally his watch. Like an accessory, like you're shiny, you're fucking pretty, and you don't curse, you're representing. After this era goes on, people want to test the waters just a little bit more. So there you see Marilyn Monroe now, that people are more beautiful and they're dressing up. And they're not covering in these dresses and milking cows and shit. The modeling industry comes out. It becomes a thing. That's where you see all the, entertainment, modeling, Elvis. On top of that, we begin to see cocaine evolve and marijuana. And of course, mushrooms. But those were kind of like the starters. Cocaine was the first buddy to be around in the white form, really. And then that was developed in the 70s. That's what they call the Flower Children era. So when they announced that the Flower Children were coming to town, I can imagine that it must have been something like COVID, the pandemic. What the fuck is the Flower Children? And everyone was afraid. I've heard many elders in my church tell me the stories about the Flower Children coming to town, and rock and roll was developed during that time. And some were mad, some were curious, and some were the Flower Children. I knew the Flower Children were the hippies, but I guess I didn't really put two and two together, that it was like straight marijuana coming into town. And I guess it would sound just as bad, honestly, as like anything else, because that was the drug when it was their time. And as time evolves, people are now creating more and more and more and more different kinds of drugs. So that's where you're going to see the mental health come into place and psychology come into place, and people needing to educate and needing to go to counseling. That was never a thing back in the days. So cocaine becomes, okay? Obviously people are changing now. People before this, they don't use drugs, okay? They never made them, they never found them. The worst thing that they really had to do was alcohol. And cocaine, it changes people. Everybody becomes fiending on different things. So cocaine is just as bad for some people as other drugs are for other people. Cocaine starts, we got the marijuana, we have alcohol and shrooms. Now we have all of a sudden methamphetamines comes in after. So during pretty much like the 70s, you got cocaine, meth, all the drugs. That's your intro right there, pretty much. Maybe 60s, teensy bit, but really this was the 70s and the 80s. You're gonna start to now develop this cocaine and methamphetamine, and all the drugs start then. It's not that long ago. They didn't know anything about mental health or addiction because it wasn't actually existing prior. So over time, you see things go from the Beatles. All of a sudden, the cocaine, it's got these people, the partying, they're fucking, obviously their mind is on a different level now. And the drugs do make you feel very powerful. They make you feel like Bruce Almighty, and they make you honestly feel like you can do anything, even if it's rob the police cars, okay? So that's where you can see out of nowhere somebody freaking doing the rock and roll, dude. That's where rock and roll's coming in. The fucking partying, you know what I mean? Just living their best life, and fucking rock and roll becomes a thing. Out of nowhere, they're like, this is still going on. People can fuck any age people at this point. Nobody's saying anything. So you got the drugs, you got the partying, you got fucking all this involvement of entertainment now. People are fucking living their best life. Trump's building his tower. And everybody's just having such a great time that honestly, Trump even himself goes bankrupt. Do you know the Trump Tower is not even owned by him? They just have his name on it and made a deal with him that said, because you're so popular and your name is so well known, we're going to let you keep your name on it. I don't know if he if he gets any money for his name being on it, but what I do know is that he doesn't own it. And basically, everything gets built up in the most glamorous of ways. It's very sparkly and shiny and beautiful, just like in The Great Gatsby. You guys might watch that movie if you haven't. I really like it. I wasn't sure if I was gonna, just because it's like a Glee-like movie. And I'm not much for singing movies, but I liked it a lot. I was like, damn, I learned so much. But come the 80s, we got some problems here. We now have rappers and rock and roll people and drugs all of a sudden. Boom. So people are going nuts, dude. I'm sure people were obviously feuding if it gets to the point in 1983. Enough complaints have been made at this point to now pass a law to not be able to sleep intimately with minor children. There was also no law that said you could not do child entertainment in the neggy way. So the mindset of these people back in the day it never occurred to them that it wasn't okay to do these things until basically the 70s or the 80s occur basically. So it was really just old-fashioned people now looking at new born generations and saying, you shouldn't do that. Well, why didn't you think of this prior? Honestly, that's really disturbing. And I will figure out, oh my gosh, this is actually making me sick. Well, I'm literally going to figure out who the fuck, we'll get the details of it, but who the fuck decided and what happened exactly. That anytime a new policy or a law is passed, it's because something fucked up happened. Or more than one thing happened. And basically, it's become now a safety and a sanitation issue. So over time, they're realizing, oh my gosh, we're getting diseases, dude. People are fucking each other, sleeping around. This is so against humanity and the way that we're supposed to be. That's not what you're supposed to be. And that whole thing came from the roots. But who wants to be born just for slave labor either? Who wants to fucking be born because you all fucking decided to get a piece of land and fucking put your kids to work and they never got a childhood because they were literally fucking not loved, never cared for, and you guys didn't express love for each other because there was all this crazy hectic shit going on. Also, another issue that happened to the children that were going through the 70s and the 80s, our parents basically, I'm 36, so it would be your parents if you're my age, but dude, between the farm work and the beauty services that were becoming invented, they had to deal with the fucking rollers. And I don't know, so many clients of mine tell me, basically in this era, it sounds like the baby boomers sat there and made their daughters do swoopy bangs and rollers and weird shit. and I've been doing hair for 13 years. You should look up old perm chairs. They look like electrical chairs that you would use in a prison to like kill somebody. It's fucking crazy. There's literally like this whole thing, like a dryer cap that comes down, and I shit you not, it has fucking cords dropping out everywhere. And I'm assuming you just could. They had to hook up the cord to each fucking rod, and you must have looked like you were fucking like some kind of crazy Frankenstein. It pulled your hair, and it was so strong of a chemical because people were beginning to experiment with it. They had to create these solutions. Now, perms are actually made of acid and alkaline and ammonia and very extremely powerful chemicals. So even to this day, most perms damage your hair 80% of the bonds. So if in the old days there were all these powerful and very pure ingredients, they could do a lot of things with it. Drugs, perms, really crazy, powerful products were being made. People were starting to lose it so much that mental health was actually encouraged, and it became mandatory over time. OSHA regulations became regularly mandatory. People started to act in ways that was out of their natural alignment because they were intermixing with all these chemicals, which was also causing them to have these different feelings and these different emotions and go crazy, because it will. It makes you more horny than usual. It makes you angrier than usual. It makes you sadder than usual, happier than usual. But no matter what, you're all over the place. So this is where the bystanders were like, what the fuck? I'm sure people were not, I'm sure many kids and many, there must have been a lot of fucking fucked up and not agreed to sex. Rape. There must have been rape all the time in that era, and I'm really sad that we're the children of that era. So when you guys are wondering why the millennials honestly they're on the streets homeless and acting crazy on drugs, well, we were the children of the era of the firstborn users. And we grew up in homes where nothing but that stuff was going on. Rape, partying, drug use, drug cooking, screaming, yelling, and servant labor. So we had to actually go through all the emotions of what we're gonna do about all that. And I don't blame fucking. I'm not trying to blame. I'm trying to fucking make everybody understand. And honestly, it's not about what the fuck or how the fuck things are. It's who you are. And you can be in a room full of people that are doing the same thing and not want to be there. I'm not somebody who focuses on how things are, what they're supposed to be, or what somebody tells me. I feel my way through life based off of my emotions. I'm not going to sit here and say honestly at the end of the day that, in my opinion, any generation was doing right or wrong. For the baby boomers, I think that the best thing that we got out of the whole situation was to see them still be in love today. To watch them still have each other 60 years later. Something that we don't have in our generations a lot is marriage and long-term commitment, but it is very beautiful to watch two old people take care of each other. And it makes me, I already knew with my dad. My dad has been an example for me for years. He's played women his whole life, and he's a drug cook. He passed away, but I personally grew up in a house where people were partying, and there was rape, and there was drug addiction, and there was lies, and there was horrible shit going on. And this went on literally my whole life, and I got pregnant with my son, 17 or something, and I quit for the pregnancy, and I didn't start using until I was 14, but that's still young. Still young to be 14 and to be cooking, with your parents, and your brain deteriorates when you use, and you don't get those things back, and you gain depression when you drink. It actually kills cells that create happiness, and it causes more depression. All these different drugs and all these different chemicals that we mix together are changing our minds permanently, no matter what. Every time you get in a fight with somebody and you scream at them and you get upset, you're changing your brain functions, you're burning cells. So you guys gotta really watch your stress. When you guys are stressed, you're like sending all this extra energy and all of this pressure. That's where you feel that pressure, because your brain is actually made up of components that receive all of that energy. And that's where you see people basically kind of lose it, go manic, go crazy, and freak out and never return back to their normal self. They have too much energy, pressure going through their body and up into their mind, and it just snaps them. When we take pills that we mix with alcohol and all these different things, these can be fatal cocktails. It's just like ammonia and bleach. It causes mustard gas. It would be just like if you put diesel in your car. You can't do that. You can't do things to your body too. And I don't know why people don't understand that. And we're going to go over more and more and more. But basically things are going to continue to change. And they always will. And every generation might look at this generation or last generation like, fuck it, it was everybody else's fault. But what we now need to do is actually work together to see what each generation lived by, how they lived. We might want to research who was leaders during these times. I'm the leader of the New World Order now. Hi, I'm Tara. So remember the name when you guys want to know what happened in this era. Tara. But that's what you're going to want to do. Whenever you hear of a group or an organization, a gang, looking to see what their leader is really teaching their people. Do they want the people to follow them? And is it really about them gaining group power? Is it bullshit? Like Osteen, literally. And Epstein. But John Osteen, I think is his name. He just says the same shit every time. Some people you can just, you like a couple of their shit and then they sound the same every time. It's all scripted. A lot of people do scripted. I wing it. That's where you were like, what the fuck are you doing all the time? I don't know. But I'm authentic and I don't know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to say, and I never write a script. And I don't want to live by what anybody else is doing. I like different things about all the eras. I like how the baby boomers now could be there for each other and they have strong love for each other. I personally love the rock and roll and the rap, and I'm glad that I was born in 87. And it's pretty much Def Leppard and Poison and Dr. Dre and all of them. And I just, it makes sense for me. I was born literally in Joan Jett. I love rock and roll. And then I just love it, dude. I remember when I watched the Addams Family, on our TV, it was still in black and white, and we didn't have cell phones. And I remember when my mom got her first cell phone, and I was like at least 19 or 20 something. And pagers were a thing, and dial-up internet, and long hot summer days, and I just, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be who I am today, and I'm grateful to be educated, and I want you to know that all of these things and all of the peace and all of anything that I feel or anything that I experience, I educate. And that's what I want to give back to you guys, because at the end of the day, you're not stressing because of the problem. You're stressing because you don't know how to fix the problem. The problem is something that really fucking matters to you. It's not even, you wouldn't call it a problem. It's just that you're experiencing something right here that makes you feel icky. And when you don't know what to do, your brain goes into flight or fight. And that's what you need like, brain, we're both freaking out, but you got to talk to yourself down, and you got to take control back of yourself. Your brain is only an SD card. It's a CD-ROM. It's where you hold your knowledge. You're responsible for making yourself more intelligent, and you're also responsible for the lack of. Your life will move at the pace that you push it. But anytime you don't understand something, then you need to educate yourself more. You need to practice more. Or you need to accept that maybe it's not for you.